If you're looking to purchase or refinance a home, First Commerce Financial is a pure mortgage broker that works with several lenders to secure the best possible rate for you. Their mission is to provide transparent mortgage solutions to help you grow your overall net worth. That means you get a great deal on your home loan and receive 5-star level service along the way. They eliminate the junk fees associated with most mortgages, and they will also waive the appraisal fee for qualified borrowers if you mention you heard them here on Warchant. First Commerce Financial invites you to call 248-207-2404 or visit firstcommercefinancial.com. Licensed in Florida, Michigan, Arizona, and California. Welcome into the Warchant.com report presented by First Commerce Financial. I'm Jeff Cameron alongside Ira Schoffel and Gene Williams of Warchant.com. Obviously, Florida State set to do battle with Louisiana Monroe. That game at 5 o'clock. This Saturday, Doak Campbell Stadium, Bobby Bowden Field. Our debut, guys, the ACC Network. I know everybody's so excited for that. Oh, boy. Where do we start? Where do we go? I can give you a basic overview if you'd like with, obviously, Louisiana Monroe. But I think we're going to start instead with 36-31, the loss suffered by Florida State at home to Boise State. And there are so many ways to go with this. After an impressive first half, a disastrous second half, and bad defense throughout. Gene, I start with you. I guess you can start with Harlan Barnett.
Yeah, I think that's the most, even with the meltdown on offense, that's the most disappointing aspect to me, the fact that you didn't show any progress on defense. You fell apart. Now, listen to Willie Taggart. On Monday, he talked a lot about it. It seemed like a little alignment issue here, getting your gaps here, tackle a little bit better, we'll be good. I'm not sure I'm buying into that so much now. We'll say it was your first time doing a new scheme in a 3-4, so you'd expect a little growing pains adjusting to that. Man, they better have a really steep learning curve going into the next weeks 2 and 3 to be able to make that up. But I still think there's some underlying issues with this defense. We saw it last season. The linebacker play is still abysmal, Jeff. I mean, guys aren't getting off their blocks at all. They're running around places. They're not, the gap integrity, there's none at all. They're not going anywhere. And we're going to show here in a minute, you'll see right now the Pro Football Focus grades that we get every week. I mean, Dontavius Jackson graded out at 54%. Now, this is a senior. This is a second-year full-time starter. He's supposed to be the leader of that unit. When that guy is doing that poorly in a game like this when you need him, it really reflects on the whole unit. I don't know if that's going to be solved overnight. I think you can go to some youth movements. I saw some good things out of Amari Gaynor. I think maybe you really got to push for him to be a starter. Some personnel things maybe you can do, but I don't see this any different than what we saw last year. So I'm really dubious about the prospects of them getting much better this season.
Yeah, they don't get off the blocks. They don't trigger downfield. They're not especially an aggressive unit. When they play soft in that zone too, Gene, they don't play it well. So whether you're playing man or zone, you got to play it well. They don't play either well. Let's switch sides of the ball to you, Ira, and talk about an offense which came out humming and made a lot of people feel very, very good about what we were going to see for the remainder of that game. But, of course, it turned out to be a tale of two halves. Let's talk about Kendall Briles and the impact of the offense. And again, the first half looked great, second half terrible.
It really was remarkable. If an earthquake had hit at halftime and we all had to go home, Florida State fans right now would be dancing in the streets about how excited they are about this Kendall Briles offense. I mean, the first half could not have gone any better. I can't remember a game that I've covered or attended where it was so totally different the next half. And I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I do think that they got comfortable at halftime. I think the play calling towards the end of the first half seemed a little cavalier, and I think that kind of rubbed off on the players. And I think the players really thought that game was a wrap. I think they thought they were going to score 70-yard touchdowns every play, and it came too easy. Kendall Briles said that earlier this week. They thought things came too easy for them, and they didn't handle it well. But other things happened as well. Part of it is that kind of offense, if you can't make a first down, if you don't get something positive on first or second down, it's really hard because you don't have the way they block. They're not good enough to block in any circumstances usually with those kinds of offenses, but especially with this offensive line, you can't block on 3rd and long. They just are not going to be able to do it. So if you get in 3rd and long, the odds are that offense is not going to produce a first down, and they were in 3rd and long the entire second half.
1 and 12.
Oh, nicely done.
They were in 3rd and long the entire second.
8.3%. I'll tell you this much. Yeah, they were, because they didn't win first down, to your point, in the second half. And these offenses, this is the thing. It's a boom or bust offense. It's one of those things where in rhythm they look unstoppable and they can put up big numbers in a hurry. Off rhythm, out of rhythm, they fail to make beautiful music. And so this is the nature of those offenses. I think there will be a bit of a learning curve for the fan base to watch this, because when it's going well, you think, why doesn't this happen all the time? When it's going poor, it goes really poor, and you put your defense in a terrible position to be on the field forever. They don't help themselves either by not getting off the field on third down, Gene. But this happens a lot with these kinds of offenses, and I think people have to prepare themselves for that. All right, so now obviously you lose the opener. Your chances of getting to 8 wins, I'm sure anybody that predicted Florida State was going to win 8 games would have circled a W here, especially when it was at home. It ended up being 98 degrees. I mean, where do we go from here? What are the chances? What are the odds of this team reaching 8 regular season wins, and what's going to happen for that to occur?
I'm less optimistic, that's for sure. After that open, we talked about the importance of that, kind of the linchpin when you go through that schedule, that you needed that win in game 1 to go 2-0 to kind of give yourself at least some kind of a buffer, because while the schedule is, people say it's easy, it's not that easy. I mean, it's easier than last year, but there's still some difficult things. And to me, it comes down in 2 weeks. If you don't win that Virginia game, you put yourself at 1-2. I don't see a realistic scenario where you win 8 games. I don't see it happening, because look at this. You got Syracuse, ranked team, Florida, Clemson. You're not winning that game. BC, how good did they look? Pretty good this last week. NC State's a quality team. Miami, even Louisville looked pretty decent against Notre Dame. I don't see you winning 5 out of those 7 games. I don't see that happening, which you would need to do to get to 8 wins. So, I mean, those odds, I say they're about 30% now. If you lose to Virginia, I'd say it's like 15%. So, I mean, I think it all comes down. We'll talk about it more next week, but it comes down to that game. You have to figure out a way to beat a competent team on the road.
How devastating was this loss for their chances of assembling a season that could give the fans belief that moving forward things are progressing? Because that's what this year is supposed to be about. That's why the number of 8 wins was significant, because the thought was, well, 8-4, that's below the standards at Florida State when things are operating at peak efficiency, but it would show growth. It would show a sign that things are better. Okay, maybe they don't get to 8 wins, but I think they're in trouble trying to get to 7 wins.
I mean, everything's on the table now. I mean, if you play like they did in the second half, they may not go to a bowl game again, which none of us thought was conceivable, really, or at least likely going into the season. I thought they would win 8 games, but I really thought they would win that opener. Here's the chance. They do have, the one nice thing is I think they kind of get a makeup. They get a chance for a do-over to some degree against Virginia, because that was a game I actually thought was a loss coming into the season. I think that's going to be a tough place to play. They've got a dynamic quarterback.
Physical, they don't beat themselves.
It'll be Florida State's first real road game. I would not have predicted them to win that game. If they could win that game, to Gene's point,
offsets.
It really does offset that loss. And I think it would get them feeling good. They would have a lot of confidence. And we saw in the first half that they have talent. They can play, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So that game is huge. I mean, the season opener could not have been any bigger. Virginia at least gives them a chance to kind of salvage some of that if they could win that game. But of course, the way they played in the second half, we don't know that they're going to beat ULM.
I think they got to go boom or bust. I think they got to go all in and take chances and try to win track meets. I think they got to try to win games 45-38 or something like that, and get the ball back to your offense as much as possible.
But you better be more consistent on offense, because you're not going to be able to chuck the ball deep all the time.
No, it was shaky in the second half. There's no doubt about that. We'll take a brief look in a moment when we come back on the Warchant.com report at ULM. We can't assume that things are going to go swimmingly this week. We'd like to think so, but last year there was a scare out of Samford, so we'll see. We'll touch on them, and again, look big picture stuff when we come back on the Warchant.com report.
Did you hear that? That is the sound of Florida State football. Be ready, Noles. You bleed it, now own it. Check out Tallahassee's #1 store for FSU gear, Garnet and Gold. Locally owned for over 40 years, turn to their team to bring you the finest selection of spirited apparel and merchandise for every fan. They're always happy to see you and always happy to serve you. Visit their flagship store at 1504 Governor Square Boulevard, the campus shop over on West Pensacola, or if you're on the north side of town at 1400 Village Square Boulevard. And always on the web at garnetandgold.com. Garnet and Gold, a Tallahassee tradition you can depend on. If you're a Seminole, they're your store. Go Noles!
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report presented by First Commerce Financial. Louisiana Monroe comes into this game 1-0. They win their first game against Grambling State 31-9. If you're wondering, their Sun Belt team, I might also note they're akin to a Texas State, somewhere in that region if you would, if you're just looking at comparable teams. Last year they just missed out on a bowl. They went 6-6. They were eligible. They lost their last game. They didn't get invited to a bowl. They didn't make one. Caleb Evans is their quarterback. He is their do-it-all quarterback. He is a pretty talented athlete, can run the ball, can throw the ball, so if Florida State's not careful, he might pick apart this defense the way everybody else does, and we'll see if that happens this Saturday. Now, is there any really anything to take away from a win here? Obviously, a loss means your season is doomed and it's over. Forget about it. We're all jumping off the Titanic. But if you win this game, is there something you can take from this?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, you want to see progress. I mean, this is the thing. This is kind of like a practice or a scrimmage almost. Again, assuming you don't lose the game. Are we going to see an offense that at least stays focused for 4 quarters or 3 if they're way ahead, hopefully, for them, that aspect? Will we see the defense show a little bit more confidence? Do they stay in their gaps? Do they get lined up right? Do we see solid tackling? And I guess the bigger picture emotionally, will it be a hangover from the last game? Will these guys come out and just, woe is me, the season is lost, look sloppy, look disinterested? If that's the case, that's really a bad sign going forward for this team.
I know you and I were talking about it before we started taping today. Your thoughts on what has to happen here for fans to believe that maybe it's a different team. The one that we saw last year when facing adversity shrunk in the moment. They're facing adversity again, first game of the season, they lose it. Now they're in a position where they've got to show they're better than that.
Yeah, pretty much anything you saw in the Samford game last year, you don't want to see in this game, because I think they were clearly affected by that opening loss to Virginia Tech. That can't happen again. I know Willie Taggart doesn't like when we talk about 2018, but we have to talk about 2018. It's a very, very similar situation, and that's where you would see that growth. You would see this team maybe handling it better. The things you need to look for, not necessarily the result of the game, but are they focused? Are they lined up correctly? Are they focused? Are they taking it seriously? And then if they get a lead, do they play smart football, winning football with a lead, or do they get careless again and give ULM a chance for a reason for hope? So those are things, to me, it's not about who's faster, bigger, or stronger. It's about how do they come mentally focused for this game and the improvement we see from week 1.
Well, respect the game.
Yeah.
Respect the game. Play each play hard, respect your opponent. You have more talent than Louisiana Monroe. Everybody knows that. But you're not exactly, in the midst of a run here where you can afford to take plays off and take games off. You've got to get better each and every rep. And this is a program right now sometimes where you wonder if that's happening. And so hopefully they'll respect the game and respect their opponent and come out and execute and really look to bury somebody. I don't mean this to be unsportsmanlike, but if they have an opportunity to really throttle ULM, say they win this, you're in a position to score 60, 70 points, I would do it. I think you got to send a resounding message to your team that we play to a standard. Don't worry about them. We're playing to a standard. You've got to get here. And if you're not going to get here, well, then we're going to get some kids in there and go,
they need some confidence, too.
Right,
it's a little bit false if you put up that many points, but man,
just
that's
do
what
it.
you need it for the players to feel good. Like, we can do this.
But it also can't be false bravado. And I think that's something, this is my probably get off my lawn moment. But don't talk about it. When you make a big play, don't talk about it. Just do it again and do it again and stack those big plays and those quality possessions back to back to back. And then at the end, towards the end, if you want to talk about it, maybe, but you don't need to talk yourself into feeling confident. Just go do it.
Have the fans reached their breaking point, Gene? I mean, you see the boards on warchant.com, and obviously we all are out in the communities and check our emails and everything else. Anybody covering this team is certainly hearing back from the fans who watch and root for this team. It's tough to imagine now there are too many people that feel awfully good about the situation in Florida State.
You got your segment of diehards. They're going to be there regardless, and they're going to be there in force. But yeah, I do think, and I mentioned last week, they'll go run into the hills if they blow this game, and they obviously did blow the game. So I think all those fans that were on the fence are gone. Doesn't matter what Willie Taggart says. It doesn't matter what the players say about how we're back. We're looking so much better. They ain't gonna buy it at this point. It's like that girlfriend that keeps cheating on you over and over. At some point, you reach your breaking point. You're like, I don't believe you anymore. I don't care how much you sweet talk me. They have to go out and do it in a real game. This week is irrelevant. Against Virginia, I hate to keep going back to that. That's the only way you're going to win these other fans back, and that is going out and proving you're competent against a good team and showing something that we haven't seen under this coaching staff.
Over, under on attendance for this football game. I believe, by the way, bravo to everybody who made it out to Joe Campbell on Saturday. I got to tell you, I was in the stands for this game, Gene. I went as a fan, did the whole thing. About died of heat stroke while doing that.
Because you're a masochist.
That was nuts. Midway through the third quarter, I thought.
Third quarter attendance was
not real good. I thought, man, I got an opportunity to be in that press box. I could just leave. But anyhow, that said, there were over 50,000 for the game. Will there be over 50,000 for the game this week?
I'm sure
they'll
written
announce
attendance,
they'll announce it, Ira, but yeah,
but in terms of actual attendance, probably not. I mean, I just think the students are not. I don't think the students are going to be there. It's 5 o'clock. There's a bunch of good games that afternoon.
Good point.
Texas A&M, Clemson. Yeah. I just don't think the students are going to come, especially with the heat in early September, even at 5 o'clock. And I think some of the people who would be coming in from out of town, from elsewhere in the state, people are still kind of dealing with trying to figure out what happened with Dorian. So
Sure.
yeah, I don't think they're going to be 50,000 in the stands.
I would be stunned. What will it take to win fans back? Gene hit on it.
Yeah.
You got to win games. You just got to win a bunch of games. I mean, look, it's simple at this point. You can talk about a philosophy, you can talk about a buy-in, a family, whatever you want. If you're not winning football games, they're not coming back.
And we can make a case, and we will in the media, we can make a case for the football team if they show progress against Virginia. If they go play well against Virginia, if they haven't folded their tents, then there's a glimmer of hope. It's not necessarily win or die. There's a chance. If there's progress at that point.
Syracuse from last year.
And
we're done.
Yeah, it's not fair to say you have to win that game, I don't think, because I wouldn't have expected them to win it in the first place. But they have to show they're still invested and engaged. Then I think we can make the case to the fans, and then maybe people at least hang around and take a wait-and-see approach.
Well, we've already done it to some degree, but if you want to add on to it, we usually at this section of the show look at 3 keys to the game. I have to see buy-in and investment and belief and, guys willing to sacrifice on the defensive side of the ball. Your run fits are your run fits. It's not always pretty. You've got to take on a block so that somebody else can make a tackle. I got to see that you have kids on that side of the ball willing to do that this week. If you're not willing to do it, you're not going to get better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I also think, too, just in a bigger picture, how do these guys handle adversity? I've never seen a team the last year or so that's handled adversity as bad as this team. It's like one bad play, and they all fold up and go home. They're done. There's going to be, no matter how good your team is, Clemson, Alabama, they commit turnovers occasionally. They mess up a snap. They
it's
have
football.
things like that happen. It happens at every level. Belichick does it. His teams, New England even messes up. Brady throws interceptions sometimes. So my point is, again, maybe not as big a deal in this one because of the team you're playing, but I want to see when they make that mistake in this game, is the offense just going to, for the next 2 or 3 series, go, we're just going to go 3 and out or whatever? Is the defense just going to blow up a coverage and then they're just going to go in disarray? I want to see them be able to bounce back emotion because we kept hearing in the offseason how this team was stronger, how they were bonding together, how they're buying into this coaching staff. I didn't see that, and I think that's because, again, they go, here we go again. Will they be able to bounce back this week?
Anything else you want to add to that?
That's the thing you never know during the offseason. You don't know until the games start. The only thing I really want to see is I want to see James Blackman and Kendall Briles be on the same page, the offense not have a long drought. You're not going to score every possession, but I want to know that James really gets the offense because it seemed like at times in that game there were things open that he didn't see at all.
When we come back, an opportunity to discuss something that nobody wants to talk about this early, at least, about the possibility if things continue downward to make a midseason change. Not talking about the head coach necessarily, but will drastic changes be made within the staff of some kind? We'll do that next, plus our picks, the Warchant.com report.
Make it simple, Seminole fans. Subscribe to the Warchant.com YouTube channel for instant access to unbeatable analysis. We're talking 50 years of combined experience covering Florida State athletics, unmatched digital storytelling, including exclusive access with the recruits you need to know, and your daily dose of all things garnet and gold with Wake Up Warchant. That's only the tip of the spear. The Warchant.com message boards continue to be the most active and passionate community of Seminole fans anywhere and feature insider information you won't find anywhere else. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for a free 30-day trial to see why Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report, brought to you by First Commerce Financial. If you're looking to purchase or refinance a home and want to secure the best possible rate, all while saving money without sacrificing service, give First Commerce Financial a call today at 248-207-2404 or visit firstcommercefinancial.com. Mention you heard them here on the Warchant.com report. Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. I'm Jeff Cameron alongside Ira and Gene, and we're going to look at, the potential, Gene, for midseason changes. I hate to talk about this already, but, there might be people calling for it if this defense continues to give up a ton of yards, a ton of first downs, and a ton of points. How realistic is it that there could be a change before the season is up if this defense doesn't get better?
A lot of people on our message boards calling for it, but they call for all kinds of stuff, so it doesn't really mean much there. But, initially I did a little thing on Sunday, and I said, look, midseason changes ain't happening. It's just not realistic. You're not going to bring a coach from another school in. It really usually doesn't do any good. But I will say there is a sliver here. There's a little possibility, and I'll tell you why, because there's a coach out there that Willie Taggart has worked with before, and is pretty highly well regarded, and that's Jim Leavitt, who's still sitting out there. Now, they flirted with him to come on as an analyst. It didn't happen. He came out and said he wanted to spend time with his family for the year. might be a little different if you want to bring him in as a full-time coordinator. Now, I will have to say they have to jump through a couple hoops. Does Willie Taggart honestly believe that Harlan Barnett can't implement these changes and fix things? If he really doesn't believe that, and Jim Leavitt is willing to come, then I think you have to at least entertain the possibility, because what's the alternative? If the defense is going to do this every week, they're not even getting to 7 wins. The defense can't be this bad and you expect to do anything successful this season. So if that's the case and he's willing to talk about it, man, I think it's a possibility.
You talk about desperation. I mean, nothing against Jim Leavitt at all, but my goodness, I mean, that's almost unprecedented to bring in a guy mid-season and say, fix this. I mean, he's got to implement, he's got to change. I mean, that would really be difficult. Not saying it's an impossibility, but if it were to happen, Ira, how quickly do you think he'd get this turned around?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the question, like you said, it's kind of unprecedented. I would think, I don't know, it's hard to even speculate about something like that. I would think another possible solution would be if you didn't have to make a change. And look, the reality is Florida State's defense now for 13 games has been a train wreck.
Yes,
I mean, they have had they maybe had like 12 or 13 good quarters of football over the last 13 games, if that. So if this continues, you gave up over 500 yards to Florida in your last game of last season. You have over 600 yards in this game. If you continue giving up that kind of production, points and yardage, week to week to week, at some point they might have to make a change. So yeah, I could see a possibility.
But you could do it within the staff.
You
right?
also could do it within the staff. Mark Snyder, who's right now is the outside linebacker special teams coach, has been a defensive coordinator before. He was at Texas A&M, Ohio State. I don't know that he's the most decorated defensive coordinator in the country, but maybe just a different voice would help.
Well, within the season.
Yeah,
during
the season.
Right, yeah,
we're
we're
not
talking about
bring in
afterwards.
Jim Leavitt afterwards
maybe,
or whoever you would
yeah.
do. But within the season, you might just change out who they're listening to. And
You may have to. That's our point. I think you have to change something. If this, let's say you give up 40 points to ULM and 60 to Virginia or something crazy like that. Then you simply, as a head coach, you have to make a change. You don't care how much you like this guy or how much you keep hearing the right things. It's not working. You got to change something.
If they give up 60 points to Virginia, Gene,
well,
we should all just shut down the season and call it a day. I think Willie will resign after the game if they give up 60 points to Virginia. All right, let's get some weekly picks and have some fun with this towards the end. I won the week last week, gentlemen. I don't know if you were aware of that. I see here that
I'm glad you're making us aware of it, though.
I wasn't sure that
I think I got my first text from you Saturday
There
night.
it is.
Sunday morning.
There it is. I won 4, and these two gentlemen did not. And they'll fight to get above 500 this week.
We are at 500. Come on now.
I said above 500. You'll fight to get above it. You're not above it yet. You're currently at 500. All right, so let's save the big one for the end. Let's go with Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado is getting 5. I'm going to take the Cornhuskers and lay the 5.
I'll follow suit there. I mean, this is supposed to be the big year for Nebraska. They're supposed to have their coming out party. They're finally supposed to be relevant. They got to win this game if they want to be relevant in the Big Ten.
I'm with you. Huskers.
Yep, they win it. BYU at Tennessee. Tennessee, of course, losing at home to Georgia State over the weekend. Perhaps taking some of the attention away from Florida State's troubles is Jeremy Pruitt doing a favor to Willie Taggart and his staff, because that's going nowhere. That was always a terrible hire. Tennessee fans, you really shouldn't have any hope that this is going to get better. Jeremy Pruitt can barely speak English, let alone coach. My guess is, as a head coach, my guess is that doesn't get better. But I will take Tennessee with the win over BYU, given 3.5.
This is a tough one, man. This is really a tough one, because I would rather pick both of them to not cover and or not win.
It is a tough one.
BYU's not any good either.
No.
But I got to go with Tennessee.
There you go.
Hate to be 3 for 3, but man, their backs are so much against the wall. I would probably enjoy it if they were to lose again. But I got to say, if I'm putting money down, I just can't believe they're going to go 0-2 first 2 games at home like this. So yeah, go ahead and give me Tennessee.
Imagine they go 0-2 with losses to Georgia State and BYU, and then you have the SEC schedule forthcoming. Good luck with that.
It just means more.
LSU at Texas. This is a game we are really excited to watch. I think everybody is. Texas is actually getting 5 here. That's a lot of points. I'm torn
they're
on
plus
it.
5, right?
Yeah, getting 5.
So they're getting,
They're getting 5.
Oh,
Yeah, getting 5. Texas is getting 5. Is that right? Yeah, I guess. Plus 5. That's a toughie. Hey, listen. First of all, that game, that has the potential to be a great, great game. Very physical game. I know this with Herman. You always want to take him as an underdog. If that line's right and Gene didn't mistype, then I'm going to take them getting 5. Herman's much better as an underdog than a favorite.
And I don't ever really feel comfortable laying points with LSU, so I'm going to go Texas as well.
That'll be different. go ahead and go.
You don't
with
have to be different
go with
yet.
the mighty S. No. I'm still not completely bought in on Texas. They'll look good. They're still so up and down all the time.
true.
I wouldn't bet on them in real life here, but I'm just going to go with this one. I think this may be one of their. It seems like when they get a little momentum, it looks like people are buying into Texas. They fall apart. So yeah, I'll get
Goes
LSU.
with LSU. This is an interesting game for LSU. I kind of like that team, by the way. Miami at North Carolina. North Carolina. How about Mac Brown in his debut, or return, I should say, to North Carolina getting a win? I know everybody was so pleased to see Howell out there.
That was great for that kid.
Wasn't that great? Everybody's happy for him. They knock off South Carolina, who, by the way, if they were smart, would just go ahead and fire Will Muschamp, and he could come here to Tallahassee, and we got ourselves a defensive coordinator,
there you
buddy.
go.
There's a recipe. I'm turning it around for us. Carolina's getting 6. Miami laying it. I'm going to take Miami.
No, give me Carolina in this one. I'm not that train wreck I saw from Miami last week. They're awful. They're not very well. They're almost as poorly coached as FSU right now.
All the former Florida State guys. Howell had a good game. DeAndre Francois got a big win.
Oh, big win for
at
DeAndre,
Hampton,
yeah.
and Landon Dickerson played well apparently for Alabama. So
they love him.
All the former Noles had a good weekend. I'm going to take Carolina +6. I just don't. Miami, that quarterback laying points, I can't do it. I'm going to go
I
with
understand
Carolina.
it. I like their linebackers a ton. I think they'll run the football and keep North Carolina off the field. All right, so the final two, Texas A&M and Clemson. What a game we got here. I am stunned by this line. I got to believe by the time this airs, it will come down from the number we're about to give you. But Clemson is a robust 17.5-point favorite. Give me Texas A&M +17.5. I think it's a good game.
Talk about former Noles doing well. How about Jimbo there? Let's go with Jimbo there. Yeah, that's
just keep rubbing salt.
That's just too many points right there.
That's
I know
a lot.
Clemson's probably the best team in the country. A&M's a quality program, good quarterback, somewhat well coached. We have to give Jimbo some credit. So yeah, let's go with that.
Really looking forward to that game. Kellen Mond looked fantastic. They were playing Texas State, but he looked great in their first game. Yeah, I would definitely take the points.
Always nice when you take over a job and inherit a 5-star quarterback.
And the thing about Jimbo is he's not going to, like Willie Taggart, if he goes down, he's going to go down in flames.
Yeah, Willie's going to.
Jimbo's going to try to keep that game close.
Well, remember all the games against Clemson? Now he lost a bunch there at the end, but they were always really close.
Yeah,
He
he's
always
gonna
knows
keep the
how to
game
play
close.
those. He knows to get those quality losses.
I'll take A&M as well. And finally, Florida State's given 21.5. That hook scares you a little bit. Give me the Noles and big. I'm giving the 21.5. I'm betting they're a little bit different mentally than they were a year ago. I'll take them. I'll lay the points. I think they drop over 50 on Louisiana Monroe.
Wow, okay. You know, I put the number down. I thought it was pretty big, but I guess they're not covering at 21.5. I got 42-24. So FSU wins pretty easily, but does not cover.
Woo, Gene, no faith at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Willie. I'm still in 2018. I got Florida State 37-24.
All right, I'm the only guy. Look at this loyal Noel, guys. There we go.
You're looking
These
ahead.
two guys,
We're looking
these
in the
two
back.
guys, you guys are living in the past. Last week's last week. We're going to put the big number up this week. Good job, Aslan, and obviously Ira and Gene. I'm Jeff saying goodbye. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go Noles.